started to talking about the criminal trial and talk about that the criminal trial had top prosecutors. I don't doubt it that the prosecutors were top prosecutors. My problem is that they hid the evidence. Obviously, nobody believes that the recordings, the video and voice recordings from Valva and Polina's house that recorded the images and the videos 24/7 for a few years, that it just simply got erased because Polina provided a password that erased those images. That's the biggest lie that, probably in the history that has been sold to the public, but we know it's a lie. And they have those images, they have those recordings, they're protecting the sexual abusers and pedophiles of my children who are also coming to Valva and Polina's house and abuse my kids heinously. And as a mother, my heart is breaking because I know the tremendous pain and suffering my kids went through. And every day was a struggle. Every day they fought for their lives. All of them, not only Tommy and Anthony, as Judge Condon said, Andrew, my youngest one, was treated well. That's the biggest lie I've ever heard of. Andrew was trafficked and sexual abuse since Valva received visitation with my children, since Andrew was 3 years old. Starved as well, beaten as well, and there were no reports. There were no reports because they didn't want Andrew to disclose any of the details in regards to the abuse that he encountered. If Judge Condon thinks differently, please prove it to me and to the public that he was in abuse. Show us the recordings. Show us exactly what was happening in Valva and Polina's home. And prove your statements. Because I know otherwise. I know that all my 3 children were the victims of this horrific physical, mental, sexual abuse and trafficking. Trafficking to the point that not even an adult would be able to handle what my children went through. And I can assure you, he admitted, as well as another judge in my other cases admitted, this case is keeping that judge up at night. It was the most horrific case that he has encountered within the 20 whatever plus years he's been a judge. So you can imagine the judge even states something like that on the record. That's really showing you the severity of the abuse. And obviously, I hope one day, and I hope soon, this the facts, the evidence will surface, will come out, will be provided our right to see those evidence. And based on the evidence that they have, they finally gonna charge the criminals involving in abusing my children. Valva and Polina, they are in jail, but there are so many others that are still walking free. And they have not been held criminally responsible for what they've done to my children. That's absolute injustice. And that should not happen in a free country that we live in. That should not happen. Then I felt really concerned when judge spoke about the case, and he said that he doesn't see the basis for appeal unless there's severity of the sentence, and I felt like he was trying to help Michael Valva win appeal by presenting him as a person who is not that bad, but he just made a bad decision. And later on during the conference, he said that let me see if I can exactly quote his words, because his words to me, they're quite shocking. That it was not proved beyond reasonable doubt that Michael Valva intended to kill Tammy, but his actions were like evil, heinous, and pure evil, and wicked and heinous. Look, so torturing my children every day, sexually abusing them horrifically and trafficking them, beating them, starving them to death, that's not called intention to kill a person? That's beyond my mind, that something like that can be stated by the judge who conducted the criminal trial. Michael Valva, every day that he committed any acts, any crimes against my children, he placed them in a state, in a possibility of losing their lives. He threatened their lives by conducting all these crimes against them. There's no even one doubt in my mind that Valva was pure evil as well as Paulina. You can't even put Paulina as more evil than Valva. No. They both knew what they're doing. I would say that Valva, because he was a police officer, he should have known better how to protect the children, how to ensure that they're safe, and how to ensure that they well taken care of. That was a bigger responsibility for Valva in regards to children than Paulina. Those are his children, okay? And the judge is completely turning this thing around, blaming Paulina for what have happened. If it wasn't Paulina, Valva wouldn't done that. No, look, Valva and Paulina, they were together because they had a common business of trafficking and sexually abusing my children. They even have joint account where the money was laundered to the account for the abuse. So they both equal responsible for what have happened. And I've seen, based on judges, based on what the judge said, it's absolutely outrageous that he is presenting Valva as somebody who just made a bad decision. He's completely omitting the whole history of abuse. Why Tammy lost his life? Look back. Look at the years prior to the brutal murder of Tammy. Look what happened to my children. And there are countless reports. Look, even recently, I went through. I found it was like a couple hundred pages long letter I wrote to William Barr, the Attorney General back then. The president was President Trump, and I even listed. It was about like 20 different entities, 20 different institutions that I wrote, and I sent the evidence. Okay, showing and proving that Valva and Paulina, their crimes against my children. And it's just heartbreaking that Judge Condon is trying to protect Valva for what? He's a criminal. He's convicted child murderer. And he had no remorse. No remorse abusing my children, no remorse trafficking them, and no remorse even when Tammy was already dead, because that whole scenario, the morning of January 17th, that's just a cover-up. Tammy was not alive for many hours prior to it. And even then, And even then, he berated Tammy. He called his name. He didn't even have remorse when Tammy wasn't alive anymore. He tampered with his body. He was warming up his body temperature. So when the EMS workers came, it would be like he just like collapsed and stopped breathing. No, Tammy was not alive many years prior, and I prove it to you. And and during the trial, I was very active in my posts, and I prove it to you based on his temperature, on very low temperature. There's a calculation. The relation between the temperature and time that passes from the time the person, dies, and it was between like 10 to between few hours to even like I think it was up to 15 or so hours that Tammy was not alive anymore. And quite frankly, and I also want to go back and read it to you. It was just shocking to me, but I'm thankful to God it's all coming out now. The Judge Condon, during the conference, he said, spraying Thomas with hose on the freezing night, which ultimately led to his death that night. So I'm asking the question, when did Tammy die? When did Tammy die? Now the judge admitted it was a night that he died. So was it January 16th or was it January 17th? Can somebody provide answer to this question? Because till this day, I have not received any report regarding Thomas's blood work that would determine exact time of death. They hiding this tremendously important information. The autopsy was all botched. The medical examiner, he just, and I wrote about the autopsy specifically in my prior post during the criminal trial of Valva. But the autopsy report, I was begging them to provide to me for so many months after Tammy died, was not provided to me. And then because they were going along with the version that Tammy went on the bus and felt and scratched his hands and knees, it was all lie. Me and my mom, we went to the medical examiner's office. We saw Tammy the next day. Tammy had no abrasions on his hands or feet. We even told the examiner. He admitted, yes. He looked again. Yes, he admitted. It's all. They probably have like a video recording of us being there, and that's the proof that we went there, and we addressed the medical examiner, Dr. Kaplan, that there's no possibility Tammy felt if he doesn't have any abrasions. And again, the deep cut on Thomas's forehead that we know impacted him in the fact that his brain was bleeding. And that wasn't even touched upon by the medical examiner. He claimed he went and checked Thomas's brain. He didn't, because there was no even cuts around, his head in order for him to get to the brain. So I know he didn't even touch upon the brain. I know his left eye was punched. And, many of you who have been, have some knowledge about satanic rituals, that's what they do to the victims of satanic rituals. And the whole autopsy was botched. And then I think we have during the trial, there was some pictures shown of a child with bruised hands and knees. No, it wasn't Tammy. Tammy did not have those injuries. I know this. The very concerning to me was the hands and feet were all sewn, and the area around his chest. And nobody asked me if I even give permission for the autopsy to be performed at the Suffolk County Medical Examiner's office. When I came there, everything was already done. And that's how they had any possible evidence showing us, the truth, what truly happened to Tammy. So, going back, yeah,